What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction, coming at you with another review. This is Superman Batman, the Absolute Edition. I can't even get this on my camera. Here we go. Absolute Superman Batman by Jeff Loeb, Ed McGuinness, Michael Turner, Volume 1. So there's a Volume 2 of this. And this represents the first 13 issues of Superman Batman. Comes in a nice little slipcase with art that I showed you right there. Beautiful Michael Turner art on the back cover here. And some more on the front cover here. These Absolute editions are bigger than omnibuses and bigger than, obviously, standard trade paperbacks. A standard trade paperback comes up to about here. Omnibus comes up to about here. These are just ginormous. They're not quite full artboard pieces, but they're very nice. And this is the first Absolute I've gotten and read. There's an omnibus of Superman Batman coming out in about, I think, 3 weeks from the recording of this video. And that contains 40 issues. This contains the first 13 issues of Superman Batman, plus a Secret Files and Origins issue. The art is huge, and I love it. Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness worked together a lot on a lot of different projects during this time period. They did a Hulk run together, and then they moved over to here. And Ed McGuinness' art is nice. It's serviceable. It's very action-packed, a little cartoony on the ends here. And there's an interesting sort of way that they did the storytelling with this, with a Superman narrative and a Batman narrative. It has two different narrator parts, kind of going back and forth, you know, one from a different perspective, one than the other. And they're kind of thinking the same things along the same lines, but in their own unique way. So it adds a lot of flavor there. I've actually used similar narration tactics in my Flying Sparks series, which I hope you'll check out. I'll put that down in the link below so you can read that if you like this kind of thing, because I think if you do, you probably will enjoy my book too. It starts out just talking about their origins and the like, and then pointing out the similarities and the differences from their own perspectives. The art's just huge, as I mentioned, so there you go. And they start fighting this character, Metalo, who has kryptonite in his suit, which is how he helps almost defeat Superman. And they work together, and there's something mysterious and amiss going about here. And they start to research, and boom, there is this Kryptonian asteroid coming to Earth. Oh no. And it can kill everybody, let alone Superman. And President Luthor, I guess he's President Lex Luthor at this point, is now in charge, and he has Captain Atom and Major Force deal with it, and doesn't want Superman involved, because he doesn't like Superman. Now, Kal-El is in trouble from, of course, the kryptonite, and a future Superman comes back to warn them that their plan's going to kill everybody. And you get a nice Adam West-style Batmobile right here that he's carrying. At the end of the second issue, Luthor does this announcement about how he's going to charge Superman with all the problems. And that leads into like an present evidence, and he says, we don't need evidence, and it's very much a commentary on the Iraq War. President Luthor is, you know, of course, representation of meanie George Bush, because that's how these comic guys do things. Kind of cheesy. And you look back on it 20 years later, you're like, that's cheesy. So at the time, it's like they think they're making these grand important points, but comics really didn't change the course of history or anything at all, like usual. And let's see. So they have this gal, the Silver, not the Silver Surfer, what's her name? The Silver something. Silver Banshee? Is that her name? I don't remember. But she then fights them on Lex Luthor's behalf. Batman and Superman show up at the White House, and they're faced with all these villains. Luthor's controlling all of them. Oh my gosh. We get a little nice appearance from Nightshade, which is a Steve Ditko creation here, along with Captain Atom. And some big, fast battles, because this is what Ed McGuinness and Jeff Loeb do. They run a breakneck pace for their deal, and that's what happened. Just more and more fighting. So as this asteroid edges closer, Superman and Batman, of course, have a plan, and Lex Luthor's getting angry, and pretty soon he sends all the superheroes after Superman, calling him a fugitive. They have to fight the JSA, they have to fight the JLA, they have to fight these teen superheroes. You got Superboy, and apparently this is a Supergirl who existed for a bit. That was like a future child of Superman, and I don't know much about her, to be honest. And then finally, some of the superheroes kind of plot with Superman and company to fix things. We get to the last issue, and Superman and Batman have a plan now to fix things. And it gets, like I said, the breakneck pace almost gets kind of weird. And what happens is Jeff Loeb always tends to like rush these conclusions. It's like they kind of go, oh, we're in this like 6th issue, we better wrap this up. And so they have a big knockdown, drag-out fight with Luthor and Superman. Your presidency is over. Yeah, it didn't work out that way with Bush. Sorry, Loeb. And then they stop the whole deal through Captain Atom going into a giant Superman-Batman robot, which they developed way too fast for the story. And that's the end of that. So Luthor promises there will be a crisis. Dun, dun, dun. And then we get a filler issue. And the filler issue actually has really nice art, and I really enjoy it. It's by Pat Lee. I like Pat Lee's art a lot. I think it's pretty. The coloring is really what makes this, though. Who did the color? Dreamwave Productions. Yeah, they do a lot of good production like this, and wow, pretty stuff. But in this one, Superman and Batman send their proteges, Superboy and Robin, off to try to get the kid who made the robot to work for Bruce Wayne. Look at this. Pretty art all the way around. And they then convince him, and that's the end of that. So it's just a filler issue. It was cute. As far as, you know, pretty nice art for a filler issue. And that's what goes on all... I mean, Ed McGuinness is a nice artist to start. Filler issue is a nice artist right there. And then we get 6 issues of Michael Turner. And Michael Turner is just such a joy to look at his art all the way around. Beautiful background, city of Gotham. And now we get into the reason I read this, obviously, is you see Kara Zor-El there. Supergirl returns. So little fragments of that Kryptonian asteroid show up on Earth. And it's a little decompressed. I mean, you know, way too many splash panels and pages in general, but that's kind of what these guys do. Some of them are really pretty, though. Very pretty art right here, as usual. He draws very pretty women. That's what he's known for. And it's an interesting style. It's like almost an unfinished style where like it feels like the pencils get darkened rather than traditional inking is concerned. And I know a lot of people at Aspen, like Sia Oyum, I hope I pronounced her name right, kind of follow in the footsteps of doing that sort of style and maybe even going a little further with it. But she shows up. Batman doesn't trust her, is what it comes down to. He runs a bunch of scans and tests on her. And Superman is like, OMG, I have a cousin. OMG. And he's a little besotted with her on that level. And, well, she gets trained by the Amazons at some point. Once Wonder Woman comes in here. Here we are. Look at that. That's a double-page spread. And that's another kind of spread. Anyway, Michael Turner art is what it is. So, I either like it or you don't. I tend to like it personally because I don't mind looking at pretty things. But the Amazons train her. Superman doesn't really like it so much. He doesn't trust them with it. Nobody really trusts Kara Zor-El. And then these weird Doomsday creatures attack. And they're just like clones of Doomsday, but apparently not quite as dangerous. This is the other cool thing about these books. They have these like little ribbon things like the fancy leather-bound books. Instead of, so you don't have to have a bookmark, so you can just go like that. And that was kind of weird. Those came out of nowhere, and I thought that was kind of underdeveloped. And it turns out Darkseid's really in charge of it. And so this is where Loeb gets into his storytelling again, where he just like pushes things to the epic, and he tries to out-epic himself every issue. And he really doesn't explain things very well on how he got from one point to the next. And it seems to be a little rushed in some points. So we've got 3 issues left. We're halfway through the Supergirl storyline. And Darkseid's now kidnapped Kara Zor-El, and they're gonna take Mr. Miracle's wife and go to Apocalypse. Here we go, to deal with him. Beautiful art all around. I mean, you could just, this is why I got the big art version of this, because Michael Turner just did a wonderful job, and Darkseid kind of, I guess, brainwashed Kara Zor-El to kill Superman, and now she's evil Supergirl at this point. And Batman's trying to work on a way to deal with this. So they have a knockdown, drag-out fight again. Huge colors. This reminds me of a lot of Michael Turner's independent work, the way this looks right here. And apparently Michael Turner, from what I read, more double-page splashes. They really did way too much of this. But just to drag it out to 6 issues. Has to be 6 issues, no matter what. No matter what the story. Thing is, they run these issues that are full fight scenes, and Batman finally takes care of things, and they win, go back home, and that whole thing was a big fight. And here she is in the Supergirl outfit. All right. And another double-page spread in the same issue. And there we go. And then Darkseid shows up. So really breakneck pace again, and we're going to have a resolution where it looks like Supergirl's killed right away in this thing. And because we have to rush a resolution and not really show things very well and show this whole knockdown, drag-out fight again, we get a lesson in comic books here, which is show, don't tell. And what happens is, at the end of it, we're led to believe that Kara is killed. And it doesn't ring true because they did too much setup to resolve things like that. Then suddenly Kara's right there. Well, gosh, why is Kara right there? Well, we have all this dialogue of people talking and then more people talking that just explains her and exactly really what happened in the story instead of what we saw in the story. And this is a no-no for writing comics. This is telling instead of showing. We were shown one thing, and then we get told another in the last pages to make sure it really didn't happen. And I find that sort of thing both insulting to the reader's intelligence and just sloppy, lazy writing. So, again, Jeff Loeb just has a problem wrapping things up, and so he just does it quickly so he can move on to the next arc. And it doesn't really work very well. It lends itself as untrue. And it almost is better as if they ended that arc an issue before and didn't have that whole Darkseid comes to Smallville and, quote, kills her part of the arc, because honestly the climax of the piece really happened back here when they were on the other world anyway. Back here, sorry. Before she became Supergirl, and it would have been better to just move on to the next arc. I don't know if they're just mandated that they had to have 6 issues, and so they just tacked one on or something like that, but painful. There's no need for that. But of course, again, so we already had this resolution in the last issue. She becomes Supergirl and says she's going to be Supergirl. And this is the reason I actually bought and read this book, because this was her return of Kara Zor-El. If you've been watching the channel, you know I've been going through all of the Supergirl books from just pre-Crisis up until now. We did the Daring Adventures of Supergirl, Crisis, Peter David's Supergirl. We even did the little Matrix miniseries that was done before Peter David. And then, of course, her origin in the actual Superman comics. And then that character disappeared, and they decided to bring Kara Zor-El back through this series here. And she got her own series that Jeff Loeb also wrote after this. So we'll go into that shortly. As far as this piece by itself, this is, I love the Absolute Edition. I mean, I don't know. The Omnibus, I understand. I understand the Absolute only has half the series, and the Omnibus will have the whole series or whatnot. Hopefully they'll do 2 more volumes of these so that you can get the whole series in this format. But, you know, it's so nice to read with this beautiful, huge art, especially for a Michael Turner version. I can't see getting anything else when you have a Michael Turner piece like this. I would go for the biggest possible. It is a little hard to read. Like, these are heavy, and holding them up is tough. I mean, same with the Omnibus, of course. I mean, much harder than trade paperbacks, of course. But this does have that weighted feel like an Omnibus, where it is a little harder to read, even though it's not as thick as an Omnibus. And just kind of hold up. You kind of have to have a surface to lay it on and kind of survey the art that way. is what it is. But I do love this format. I've decided I'm really in on this format. I'm going to get a bunch more of these at this point and enjoy the little slipcases and all that. The stories overall, like I said, the setups were nice. There's lots of epic action, and if you read the Secret Files and Origin, which I skipped over that whole deal, there's interviews in there talk about how they wanted to do really epic stories with this. That's true, but again, they just kind of rush those conclusions. It feels like they decompress the heck out of the fights so that you can get 2 full issues worth of just fights in each single one, maybe even 3 issues worth of fights. And the story kind of doesn't really progress through those fights so much, and then they hurry up those stories, and it kills the suspension of disbelief the way they resolve them with the Caras Royale. I didn't even explain how the dialogue explained it all. What happened in it was they said that they instantly teleported her out and teleported Ashes back in so that everybody would believe she's dead. It's like, what? I mean, if they can just instantly teleport people out of everywhere all the time, it just leads to a can of worms that just kills the suspension of disbelief. I hate that. And again, it seems like they were just trying to trick the reader and trying to insult our intelligence a little bit. I really hate those kind of, quote, twists, where they're not really twists because they didn't really lead into anything for you and didn't actually build anything for you as a twist. It's just what you read didn't actually happen. And so it's like, well, why did you make me read it? is the way I feel about that. So the ending kind of killed it, but the art is beautiful, and usually writing means a lot more to me than art. But again, other than those ending points of both those series, I mean, they were very fun to read up until those. So I don't know. This is about a 7.5 out of 10 overall. I think it is a little bit overhyped, but the art saves it. They really probably should have not had those endings for either of the 2 storylines in here. But it is what it is. Let me know what you think about this. I will talk to you guys soon and be back. Hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you with some more reviews.